So you're thinking about doing a PhD, or maybe you've just started and you're wondering what it's really like. Not the glossy brochure version, the honest, unfiltered, what the hell did I just sign up for version, because the truth, a PhD can be one of the most isolating, mentally brutal, and disorienting things you will ever do. But no one ever tells you that, so stick around, because in the next few minutes I'm going to walk you through the 5 harsh realities that every PhD student needs to hear before it's too late. And don't worry, I'll keep it lighthearted. So, you're about to start a PhD and you think your supervisor is going to guide you like some sort of mystical being and shape you and your academic journey like some sort of Gandalf meets Yoda hybrid. Well, let me stop you right there, because a lot of supervisors, well, they're just winging it. There's no mentorship training, no management skills, just vibes and pressure. Before you hand over your future to someone you don't really know, let's talk about the awkward truth of academic supervision. I think The Guardian put it perfectly many years ago when they said the supervisor-supervisee relationship is generally awkward and confusing, and sometimes, maybe even often, uncomfortable and challenging. That is just a really honest take on what a lot of these sort of like relationships are like. Your supervisor is just this flawed person trying to get through the world, and you're flawed in your own ways, so you've got to be flawed in this like compatible way, otherwise everyone's going to have a horrible time. And here it says everyone has experience throughout their graduate and postdoctoral training, but in most cases there's no formal course or body that guides staff in best practice. Most programs that do exist are optional and ignored. That's because they are under stress, not from, trying to be the best supervisor, but rather having to publish papers, get grant money, all of the really annoying things that it means that the mentorship aspect of their career can be ignored. But unfortunately, you are on the pointy end of all of that academic stress. So, your supervisor isn't just the only person that you should really be thinking about talking to. You need 3 levels. You need someone that's going to train you in the art of your research field. Then you need someone that you can work alongside. It could be your PhD cohort, it could be a postdoc, it could be someone else, but someone that's going to keep you motivated. And thirdly, you need people that you can vent to. That could be a significant other, it could be parents, it could be close friends. If you don't have those 3 people, you'll be expecting your supervisor to do too much for you. And so, having 2 supervisors, I think, is something I highly recommend to a lot of people. Have your primary supervisor and your co-supervisor, and your path will be so much more lubricated. I'm not sure I'm happy with that, but yeah, that's what I mean. Gross. If you think you'll spend your PhD calmly researching your one pure topic, you're in for a surprise, because teaching, admin, collaborations, grants, writing, and just one quick favor from your supervisor means you'll be pulled in every direction but towards the finish line and your thesis. Everyone is at risk of losing their thesis in the academic side quest multiverse. This is what it looks like. It's put awesomely on this little thread here. So, how do I handle being pulled into side quests during my PhD that don't align with my research focus? Now, as a PhD student, you are the lowest on the academic sort of ladder, which means that you are a punching bag for the whims of your academic supervisor's new idea or new sort of like brainchild that they absolutely love. So here, this is a first year PhD student who's been working on a research funded by a grant, which is clearly defined, but then they've been asked to participate in this other thing. I don't mind joining, but like they're asking, is this normal? And yes, it's completely normal. Saying no to your supervisor is one of the hardest things in a PhD. And down here you can see someone says, I went through an almost identical situation where, my research was focused on this particular area and my PhD grant had nothing to do with it. And then I was asked to write a simple script, and then that snowballed into a multi-year project in which I single-handedly created a website code. Anyway, you get the idea. You can easily be sidetracked in a PhD with these side quests. It could be that someone's like, oh, I'll put you on my paper if you just do this little thing. You really need to be super picky with the side quests that you align yourself with, because they could be useful. They could be useful for you in your career after a PhD, after you leave academia, which we'll talk about at the end of this video, which is more likely than not. I'm sorry to say that, but you need to make sure that every thing you say yes to in your PhD aligns you with a goal. If it doesn't match a vision, it's probably a hard no, and people aren't going to like to hear that, but that's the truth. Here's what no one puts in the brochure. The PhD mental health crisis is real and it is massive. Anxiety, burnout, depression is not the exception but the norm. And worse, no one wants to talk about it. It's just like, oh, we'll just put on another pizza party for you. Don't worry about it. Maybe you should try meditation and yoga. Yeah, we get it. We get all of those things. Stop telling us to do that. In this section, we're going to get painfully honest about what it actually feels like to be in a PhD program and why so many people break down before they finish. Here's some troubling statistics. Here in this study in graduate mental health, this is what it says. They studied the mental health of graduate students at 8 top-ranked economics PhD programs. Now, top-ranked means that the pressure is going to be even higher. I have spoken to people who have been to Cambridge, Oxford, the big Ivy League universities in the States, and they say one time, I'm waving my pen around, they say one thing, is that they do feel a lot of pressure. Now, where I did my PhD, it wasn't so Ivy League, it wasn't so hoity-toity, and I loved it. I really did enjoy my PhD. The pressure was there, but it wasn't insane to live up to this standard of the alumni before you. You just had to finish. Anyway, so here we go. It says here that they found that 24.8% experience moderate or severe symptoms of depression or anxiety, more than 2 times the population average. And the response rate was 45.1%, and all of that sort of stuff. And here, 36.7% of students in year 6+. Now, 6+ years of their program. In the States, the programs are so long. In Europe, the UK, I think there's like 4 years. Normally, I finished my PhD in 3 years, but I could not imagine the sorts of pressure and the sorts of mental health issues that would arise if I had to double the amount of time I did my PhD. It was hard enough with 3 years, and the fact that then you're not earning money, there's an opportunity cost where you're not kind of doing other things that could benefit your life, like living an adult life, like having a committed relationship where you can bring kids into the world, or where you can buy a house. I mean, that's out of the question now for a lot of people because, I mean, house prices, right? But having this go on for many, many years, 6+ years, is only going to make mental health worse. So here says that their program experienced moderate or severe symptoms of depression and anxiety versus 21.2% of first-year students. So the longer it goes on, the worse it gets. So have a plan to finish your PhD as soon as possible. Like I said, I couldn't imagine it going on for me any more than the 3 years that it took me. I wasn't earning money. I wasn't participating in adult life. I was stuck in this weird limbo where I was an adult in the sense that I was over 18, but I was a child in the career that I had chosen. It's a weird place to be in, but that, I think, is ultimately the underlying stressors that can cause a lot of these mental health issues. It's a weird state to be in during your PhD, so let me know in the comments how you deal with it. And it's so annoying that there's really not much good advice to go through. I'm waving around my pen again because it's so important, but ultimately, it's the boring stuff that works, and I hate saying it and I hate hearing it, but it's like, have you tried exercise? Have you tried meditation? I've tried it all. And I'm just like, as a perfectionist or as someone with perfectionist tendencies, I'm so worried about doing those things right that it's just another stress to add on all of the other stresses that are happening. So it's tough. And I think community, connecting with people and saying your fears out loud go such a huge way in making it a better place. And so that is a horrible reality of academia and research, is that those massive percent of people have severe or moderate symptoms of depression and anxiety, twice the amount of the population. We don't like that. Okay, it gets worse, I'm sorry to say, but let's say it out loud. The academic career pipeline is broken. For every 10 PhDs minted, punk, only one lands a tenure-track job, and the rest, well, they're kind of ghosted by the academic system. If you're doing a PhD thinking it's your golden ticket to a professor job, well, this might hurt. But it's better now to find out, isn't it, than like 5 years later? And here's a paper that was on this topic, like it was years ago in 2015, but here the academic job market has become increasingly competitive. We take a system approach and offer a birth rate perspective. Professors graduate PhDs who later become professors themselves, and that's how the population grows. But a US professor graduates 6.8 new PhDs during their whole career on average, and only one of these graduates can replace the professor's position. And that means that only 12.8% of PhD graduates can attain the academic positions that they want in the USA. And I was an academic failure. I wasn't the cream of the crop. I didn't rise to the top. And I think it's part of the system that all these people want to do in the system is become an academic. But you find out that you're not eligible to be welcomed into the academic community at a really late stage. You know, it's when you're applying for your own grants, when you're applying for positions, and you're like, no, you're not good enough. And you're like, oh God, I've worked so many years to get to this point, and now I find out I'm not good enough. Why? Why didn't you tell me earlier on? And it's because we just trudge on through thinking that it's going to get better. So what I say to all of the PhD students I ever meet is have a vision. What people lack in their PhD is vision. What does your life look like? If it's to go into academia, you have to play the game. Make sure that you are competitive with the metrics you need, the H-index number of papers, conference presentations, the amount of money you've brought in personally through grants. Those are the things that matter, and work on that very early on from the get-go. But if that's not what you want your life to look like, what does it look like? And a lot of PhD students can't answer that question clearly. The clearer your vision about what your future life looks like, the easier it is to navigate academia and build up the skills you need to make sure that at the end of your PhD, you're not a sad, lonely PhD student on the postdoc treadmill that can't get off and then is just sort of like kicked off the treadmill one day because, you finally found out you're not good enough. And you've accepted it as well. And that's, I think, what leads to a lot of depression around PhD. But that's the sad thing. There's not enough tenure track positions or even research positions to absorb us all. So you have to know where you want to go. That's a sad reality. It is empowering though in one way, right? Better to find out now. That is empowering, at least to me. It feels empowering. Let me know if it's empowering to you. I spat then. Gross. Do you want to know the most reliable part of a PhD? Well, it's failure. Glorious, repeated, confidence-shattering failure. Failed experiments, dead-end ideas, drafts your supervisor never reads. But here's the thing, it's not a glitch in the system. It is the system. This section is about learning to fail forward, because if you can't do that, a PhD will chew you up. And I love this from a Reddit thread. Oh, I love Reddit. It's too addictive, isn't it? But it says here, how much does your PhD projects change from the beginning to the end? And the reason it changes is because of failure. Failure on a number of different levels, but there's a moment where you have to pivot. You've got to remember that as best as you can, you come up with a research question with the knowledge you have at the time. But as you research and you gather more knowledge and information, things start opening up and doors close. So you may not be able to go one way because the data doesn't support it. So then you've got to shift. And the problem is a lot of people who end up in a PhD are perfectionists. They've done well. They are very good at exams. They've been told all the time that they're amazing, because you are a bloody amazing, by the way. But here's the thing, is that then that all shifts. A PhD is failure after failure after failure until, bonk, oh, something's worked. Brilliant. Celebrate the wins, by the way, because it's so important you do. But here, things change. And so, yeah, people are agreeing. My first project was a complete failure, and I wasted 3 years of my life. My new one got results within 3 months, and yeah, effing research. Am I right? Then we've got here, I need this thread. My methods are changing. I'm always scared I'm going to get kicked out because of it. I'm nearly 2 years in. I had to do a PhD about that, and then since COVID, all of these issues, I'm unemployed now. Like, it just changes. It is a very, very sort of like risky business, is research, because you don't know what you're going to find, and you have to roll with the punches. And that is a terrifying aspect of research that a lot of people find very, very confronting. So there we have it. There are 5 horrible things that you need to know about a PhD before you even start. Let me know in the comments what you would add. And if you like this video, go check out this other super old school video about PhD advice, because it's really the video that started this channel on the right direction, and it is a banger. Go check it out.